It was a calm Tuesday evening, the kind that felt like the world had slowed down just enough for silence to settle. The only sound inside the house was the steady ticking of the old grandfather clock in the hallway. Emily Carter sat curled up on her faded but comfortable couch, a warm mug of chamomile tea cradled in her hands. A faint trace of honey lingered in the steam, soothing her after a long day. Her husband, Daniel, had left early that morning for a tech conference in Austin. They had shared only a brief goodbye in the driveway at dawn, his suitcase dragging behind him, a granola bar half-eaten in his hand. He had kissed her forehead, promised to text before bed, and disappeared down the still, empty street. Emily loved him deeply. 17 years of marriage had created a rhythm between them. Yet, with him gone, she felt both a pang of loneliness and a secret thrill. A few nights alone meant rare freedom, a chance to reclaim pieces of herself often buried beneath the weight of schedules, chores, and family responsibilities. The living room glowed with the soft light of a single lamp. Everything was in order, the cushions fluffed, the floor tidy, and a knitted blanket spread across her lap. Emily finally opened a novel that had sat untouched on her bookshelf for months, the crisp pages whispering under her fingertips. From upstairs, faint bursts of laughter echoed down. Her 16-year-old child, Noah, was locked away in his virtual world, headset on, strategizing with friends in yet another online game. Noah had changed so much in the past year. Once a chatterbox who followed her everywhere with endless questions about planets, superheroes, and silly riddles, he had grown quiet, thoughtful. His lanky frame, messy dark hair, and sharp hazel eyes made him seem older than his years. A young person hovering between childhood and adulthood. Emily often watched him from a distance, her heart tugging for the little boy who once clung to her side. Yet, deep inside, she hoped those glimpses of his younger self still remained buried beneath the silence. The house had settled into its usual evening rhythm when Emily was startled by the sound of footsteps on the stairs. She looked up from her book, the quiet creak of wood breaking the stillness. Standing in the doorway was Noah, hands shoved deep into the pockets of his hoodie, his expression unsure. "Hey, Mom," he said softly. The tone of his voice surprised her. It carried a shyness she hadn't heard in a long time. Emily's heart warmed instantly. "Hey, sweetheart. Everything okay?" she asked, placing her novel on the coffee table. Noah shifted his weight and nodded. "I was thinking, maybe we could hang out. Like, play a game or something. You know, like we used to." The words caught Emily off guard, but they filled her with an unexpected rush of joy and nostalgia. She smiled, her throat tight with emotion. "Of course," she said, her voice tender. Noah gave a small shrug, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Cards?" Emily chuckled, standing and heading to the drawer where an old deck was kept. The box was worn and softened from years of family game nights. She handed it to him, her hands brushing his for a moment. He sat across from her at the coffee table, legs folding beneath him as though he were a little kid again. At first, the game was awkward. They stumbled over half-forgotten rules, fumbled the shuffling, and laughed when Emily teased him about his old habit of sneaking extra cards. Slowly, the rhythm returned. The silence between them softened, turning into something warm and familiar. After a few rounds, Emily brought snacks to the table, a bowl of pretzels, sliced apples, and 2 cans of soda. The sound of the fizz as she popped the tabs filled the quiet room. They leaned back into the couch, more relaxed now, their game forgotten as conversation began to flow. For the first time in months, Emily felt the knot in her chest loosen. The distance between them, so heavy lately, seemed to shrink with every word exchanged. The warmth of their laughter lingered as the cards lay forgotten on the table. Emily felt lighter than she had in weeks, sipping her soda and watching her child relax. But just as she began to believe the evening would remain simple and easy, Noah's expression changed. His smile faded, replaced by something distant, thoughtful. His gaze drifted toward the ceiling as if searching for words hidden in the shadows. "Mom," he said quietly, "do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life?" Emily froze. The question struck deep, pulling her out of the cozy calm. She set her soda down, her pulse quickening. "That's a big one, Noah," she replied gently, leaning forward. "What do you mean?" He sighed, running a hand through his messy hair. "I don't know. Sometimes it feels like we're all just playing roles. You and Dad, always busy with the same things, work, bills, routines. Do you ever wonder if there's supposed to be more than just this?" Emily's throat tightened. She adored Daniel, adored their life together, but Noah's words stirred something inside her. The routines, the comfort, sometimes they did feel like a script written long ago, one she had simply followed. "I think about it sometimes," she admitted softly. "We build a life that feels safe, but if we're not careful, comfort can start to feel like a cage." Noah nodded slowly, his eyes thoughtful, his jaw tense. A silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable, but heavy with meaning. Emily could sense there was more he wasn't saying, something pressing at the edges of his thoughts. She reached across the table, her hand resting lightly on his. "Noah, you know you can tell me anything, right? Whatever it is, you don't have to keep it to yourself." For a moment, he hesitated, his fingers drumming nervously against the tabletop. Then he lifted his gaze, hazel eyes flickering with uncertainty and courage all at once. "It's not just about life in general," he said finally. "It's personal. About me." Emily's heart thudded. She braced herself, steadying her breath. "Okay," she whispered. "I'm listening." Noah's fingers tapped the edge of the soda can, his shoulders hunched as if the weight of his thoughts was pressing him down. He took a long breath, then looked at Emily with a mixture of fear and hope. "I've been thinking a lot about who I am," he said quietly. "Not just what I want to do, but who I'm supposed to be." Emily's pulse quickened. "Do you mean school stuff? Or something else?" she asked carefully, afraid to push too hard but desperate to understand. His gaze flickered toward the floor before he forced the words out. "It's about me. My identity. I don't feel like I fit into just being a boy or a girl. I think I might be non-binary. Somewhere in between. I've been reading about it, talking to friends. And the more I learn, the more it feels like me." Emily's breath caught. A rush of emotions swirled inside her, surprise, love, confusion, and above all, a fierce instinct to protect him. She reached for his hand, her grip steady even as her heart raced. "Noah," she whispered, her voice thick, "thank you for telling me. That's so brave. I want you to know, I love you. Always. However you identify, you're still you, and I'm still your mom." His eyes glistened, relief softening the tension in his face. "I was scared you'd be disappointed," he admitted, voice trembling. Emily shook her head firmly. "Never. I just want you to be happy, to be yourself. Have you thought about what feels right? Like pronouns?" He gave a small, tentative smile. "Maybe they slash them. At least for now. I'm still figuring it out, but I needed to say it out loud." Emily nodded, her own tears threatening to spill. "We'll figure it out together. I don't have all the answers, but I'll learn. And if you want, we can find books, support groups, maybe even a counselor. You don't have to go through this alone." For the first time in a long while, Noah's shoulders relaxed. "Thanks, Mom. That means more than you know." The air between them had grown softer, filled with a closeness Emily hadn't felt in years. Their heavy talk gave way to lighter chatter, memories of silly family trips, favorite shows, and old inside jokes. For a moment, everything felt safe again. Then the lights flickered. Emily froze, glancing at the lamp beside her. The warm glow sputtered once, twice, before the entire house plunged into darkness. A sharp laugh escaped her lips, brittle and nervous. Perfect timing, she muttered, fumbling for her phone. The beam of the flashlight cut through the shadows, stark and jarring. Noah stood, their silhouette barely visible. "Probably a fuse," they said calmly, though their voice carried a hint of unease. "I'll check the basement." "No," Emily replied firmly, standing as well. "I'm coming with you." The basement stairs groaned under their combined weight. The air grew cooler, musty, tinged with the faint smell of damp concrete. Noah knelt near the fuse box, fingers brushing over the switches. "Nothing's tripped," they said, frowning. "Might be the whole street." Emily's light swept across the dim basement until it landed on the small window at the far wall. Her heart lurched, the latch was bent, the glass slightly ajar. Her breath caught. "Noah," she whispered sharply. "Did you open that?" They turned, eyes narrowing. "No," they answered firmly, tension lacing their tone. The two of them moved closer, the flashlight beam trembling in Emily's hand as it revealed the bent metal. Her pulse hammered in her ears. "This isn't right," she murmured, panic rising in her chest. Noah straightened, their face set with resolve. "I'll check outside." Emily grabbed their arm quickly, her voice low but fierce. "No way. We're not wandering around in the dark. We're calling someone." But Noah shook their head, already heading up the stairs, determination in their stride. Emily followed close behind, her phone's light casting long, eerie shadows across the walls. When they stepped into the backyard, everything was still. Too still. No wind. No sounds. Just silence that pressed in on them like a weight. The backyard stretched out in silence, the darkness almost unnaturally calm. Emily's flashlight darted over the garden, the fence, the shadows under the old oak tree. Nothing stirred. Noah stood beside her, scanning the stillness with sharp eyes. After a long moment, they let out a breath and spoke in a voice softer than the night air. "This is going to sound strange," they said, "but I'm kind of glad this happened." Emily turned to them, startled. "Glad? Why?" "Because it got us talking. Really talking. It's been a while." Her eyes stung with sudden tears. She reached out and pulled them close, her heart tightening. "I've missed you too," she whispered. They lingered there, mother and child, until the tension ebbed. Back inside, they locked the windows, bolted the doors, and lit candles. The flickering glow bathed the living room in warmth, shadows dancing across the walls. Noah hesitated then, staring into the flame of a candle as if it held the courage they needed. "There's something else I haven't told you," they admitted, voice low. Emily braced herself, nodding. "Go on." They bit their lip before continuing. "I know you and Dad wanted me to study business. To follow the family plan. But that's not what I want." Emily's chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "I want to write. Stories, scripts, things that matter to me. I've been working on applications in secret, and," they pulled out their phone, opening an email. "I got in. A creative writing program. In California. One of the best." Emily's breath caught as she read the glowing acceptance letter on the screen. Pride swelled in her chest, mingling with surprise. "Noah, this is incredible," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm not disappointed. I'm proud. So proud. I just wish you hadn't felt you had to hide it." For the first time in years, Noah's smile shone bright and unguarded. "Thanks, Mom. That means everything." At that moment, the overhead lights flickered back to life, the house filling once more with its warm golden glow. Both of them laughed in relief, the heaviness of secrets finally lifting. The sudden return of light filled the room with a golden warmth, scattering the shadows that had haunted the evening. Emily laughed softly as she reached to blow out the candles, but Noah caught her hand gently. "Thanks for being on my side," they said, their voice tender. "Even when I didn't make it easy." Emily squeezed their hand, her heart swelling. "Always," she whispered. They stayed up long past midnight, talking about everything, dreams, college, the future, and even silly things that had nothing to do with life's big decisions. At some point, a movie played in the background, but neither paid it much attention. The real story was unfolding between them, in words and glances, in the fragile yet unshakable trust being rebuilt. Later, when the house grew quiet again, Emily walked through the halls turning off lights. She paused at the wall of family photos, Noah as a toddler with paint-smeared cheeks, gap-toothed grins, birthday candles glowing in little hands. Now, standing before her was a young adult with their own voice, their own path, one she hadn't planned, but one that was undeniably theirs. When she finally climbed into bed, Emily felt a peace she hadn't known in years. Not the peace of routine, but the peace of connection, of being truly close to her child. 2 days later, Daniel returned from Austin, suitcase in tow, his face tired but eager. Over coffee at the kitchen table, Emily shared everything, Noah's truth about their identity, their dreams of writing, the acceptance into California's program. Daniel listened in silence at first, his brows furrowed as he processed. Change was never easy, and this was not the future they had imagined. But after a long conversation, his expression softened. He reached for Emily's hand, then later, for Noah's. "It's not the life we planned," he admitted slowly, "but it's your life. And that makes it right." Emily's heart swelled with relief. In that moment, she realized, sometimes the biggest shifts in life don't arrive with grand announcements. They come quietly, in the flicker of candlelight, the shuffle of cards, or the brave voice of a child asking to be seen. And in those moments, love means listening.